Welcome to our weekly installment of Facebook Live with Conan Tucker. Before we get started, I would like to say happy belated International Women's Day to all the women, moms, sisters, wives, daughters out there, all the hard workers who had to either stay home and go out to work this past year. Women truly make the world go round. And we here at Conan Tucker do appreciate and support all of the women and women's rights. So happy belated International Women's Day to everybody. Now, before we get started, we have quite a lot to talk about today. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that we're just having this conversation. This is not legal advice. Everybody's case is different. It is personal. It is based on your own facts and events. So if you want to discuss your specific case, please give us a call or email us or send us a comment. What did I want to talk about to you today? There has been some big news. In the last 2 years, the word public charge has been in the news quite a lot. And a lot of people are scared of it, don't understand it, and just have a lot of anxiety about even the words public charge. What does it mean? Now, most people who immigrate to United States through a family petition, for example, when they're petitioned by their brothers, by their sisters, moms, dads, children, wives, husbands, most of those immigrants have to show that they're admissible to United States, meaning that they have no barriers to getting the actual visa. One of the reasons why visa can be denied is if a person is deemed to be a public charge. Traditionally, over the last 20 plus years, the word public charge was meant that if there is a possibility that a person is going to be institutionalized for a long period of time at the expense of the government, or will predominantly or solely rely on a cash assistance from the government, then the visa or the green card if the person is in the United States could be denied with certain waivers available. In 2019, previous administration under Donald Trump, for the first time actually defined and expanded the phrase public charge and introduced the now infamous form I-944, which got a lot of people scared. That form asked for intended immigrants proof of insurance. It asked to provide credit reports. It asked to provide educational background. It asked to disclose any time you used any type of public assistance, Medicaid, Medicare, non-emergency, cash assistance, food stamps, housing assistance, and allowed the immigration officers, both in United States and abroad at the embassies, to deny visas to people based on considering those factors. Whereas before, just because you've used free insurance in United States would not in and of itself disqualify you from getting the visa. The expansion under the Trump administration of the definition of the public charge rule meant that a lot of people who were in United States would become inadmissible based on having used public assistance, cash benefits, subsidized housing, and so on and so forth. Now, the minute the Trump administration introduced the rule, of course, the lawsuits have followed. And over the last 2 years, depending on when you had to filed your adjustment application, meaning your application for a green card, you either had to include the Form I-944 or didn't. So if you were filing during the time where there was an injunction in place, you could just file the adjustment without it. And there were times when the injunction was not in place and other legal things were happening. And during that time, you had to file the Form I-944. And it was very confusing because sometimes we would file an application for one person on 1 week and wouldn't have to include the form. And we would file an application for another person just a few days later, and then the form already had to be included. Also, a lot of clients now have outstanding requests for evidence, which is when the immigration services sends a letter stating that there's something missing in your case or there's some more documents that they want in your case. And a lot of people have received letters requesting them to submit the Form I-944. The good news is that the Biden administration just a few days ago withdrew its legal arguments to defend the expanded public charge rule. And therefore, basically, by doing that, they kind of just dropped it. What does that mean? The minute that happened, USCIS released new regulations. And in its regulations, USCIS said that you no longer have to file Form I-944. And if you have already outstanding requests for evidence that were due after March 6, 2021, you no longer had to comply with them. Basically saying you can ignore it because we no longer are going to enforce this rule. This is good news for a lot of people who were scared and anxious because having used public benefits in the United States could mean that you would be denied green card in the future. The system is designed poorly in a way that when you apply for, let's say, Medicaid, which is the most common one that we see people use, undocumented immigrants in the United States and people who are seeking to get green cards in the United States based on family petitions, also known as adjustment applicants, are not eligible for federal public assistance. The insurance company that is signing you up for it technically is supposed to ask for proof of status, because if you're a green card holder, if you're a national of the US, if you're a naturalized US citizen, and certain other groups such as asylees, people who fall under the definition of or have gotten their status as victims of violence, and certain other groups, they are allowed to use public assistance in the United States without any issues. But if you're merely here and you're applying for green card based on your husband's or your sister's or your brother's or your child's green petition, technically you're not supposed to be using that. There's a lot of documents and there's a lot of articles out there that talk about what it is that a person that is undocumented in the United States eligible and not eligible for. For example, there's such a thing as SSI. And most people seem to be aware that you're not going to get it unless you are a US citizen. But I meet a lot of people, and I'm not sure what, sometimes they are aware, sometimes they're not aware. A lot of the times people say, well, I went to a doctor and they told me if you want insurance, you could get it. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to get it. It's a loaded question. Why? Because technically you're supposed to do the research and you're supposed to know what you can and cannot do. It is on you to know your rights, your responsibilities, and the laws. Ignorance of the law does not absolve you of the responsibility, but at the same time, the insurance companies who are providing these applications and signing people up should also be aware of the fact of who's actually eligible and who's not based on their immigration status. So please be vigilant and inquire about things you can and cannot use. Going back to the good news, the infamous Form I-944 is now dead. We don't need to use it anymore. And the stringent requirements of the public charge rule have been rolled back to the pre-Trump era. So that covers the latest immigration news. Now let's talk about Affidavit of Support. Affidavit of Support is a binding legal document. A lot of people don't know that, but it is a contract between the sponsor and the person who is the intending immigrant to the United States, whether the person is getting their immigrant visa at the US consulate or applying for an adjustment of status here in the United States. The person signing the Affidavit of Support has to be the petitioner. So if your husband applied for you, he has to sign the Affidavit of Support. If your husband doesn't have enough financial needs, the government allows you to supplement by getting a co-sponsor. Co-sponsor could be anybody who is either a green card holder or a US citizen and has the financial means. What does that mean? There's a formula you calculate it based on. You take the size of the family, everybody who's claimed as a dependent and everybody who's in a household. You add the intending immigrant to it, and you have to make sure that the person has 125% or more of the poverty guidelines. And USCIS on its website publishes every year a table that says if you have a family of this many, this is how much your co-sponsor needs to be making. Now, the income tax is what usually, income tax in conjunction with the W-2 or 1099 is the most common way to prove a person's income, right? You file it every year, you give us a copy, and that's what we base it on. It's not the only way. People, sometimes people own businesses, sometimes people have savings, types of investment, sometimes they have PITA properties. Every case is different. You got to talk to your attorney, and they will be able to make the determination what kind of income qualifies and what kind of income does not qualify. But, and here's the thing, if you are immigrating from through a family petition, you're not eligible for public benefits for the first 5 years of being a green card holder or until you become a US citizen. If you're married to a US citizen, that time drops. Why? Because spouses of US citizens can technically apply for naturalization 2 years, 9 months after they are given their first green card. So that time span can be shorter because technically If, for example, you applied 2 years, 9 months, and the processing time of naturalization goes down, so what it used to be, now it's 18 months, it used to be a few months. If it goes down to that, you can become a U.S. citizen well before the 5-year mark. And then the affidavit of support no longer applies to you. The thing to remember is, although more liberal administrations do not enforce the affidavit of support contracts, technically it is a contract where the sponsor obligates him or herself to be financially responsible for the intending immigrant, and if the government, that is the administration, wants to, they can enforce those. They can go after the co-sponsor to get back the money that you've used in public benefits. It hasn't happened, and it is unlikely to happen under Biden administration. But it is important to remember that it is a contract that a person signs. So the news are very good. We were thinking that a lot of liberal ideas and policies are going to be coming back, and it seems like they are slowly. A lot of people call us and say, well, where's the amnesty, or where's the pardon, or so on and so forth. First of all, it's important to remember that the Biden administration is preoccupied with a pandemic. Second of all, any immigration relief, as we've seen it in the past, is a negotiation. You open up as high as you want, but most likely you will not end up getting every single thing that you want. You will end up somewhere in the middle. And what is going to come of the effort, we don't know yet. We're hopeful. Things are looking promising for our clients, definitely. Immigration news coming every week, sometimes several times a week. That's why we're going to do this once a week to keep you updated. Please send us any questions. If you want me to cover anything specific, you can always send me a question through Facebook, through email, through our website. If there's any topic that you really, really want us to cover, I would be more than happy to talk about it next week. I know a lot of people, for example, ask about labor law as it relates to undocumented immigrants. When an employer can fire you, hire you, demand to see your documents, pay you, not pay you. All of those issues are important to our clients, a lot of whom are blue-collar workers. And we respect that because they make the world go round. So next week, we're actually going to talk about that. I hope you guys all tune in. You send us your questions, you call us. We're always here to help. It was really, really nice to see everybody. Please spend March celebrating women. They're so, so important, and they have taken a big hit, especially moms have taken a big hit in the last year. And I truly hope that our society is going to spend the next several years restoring the balance and, of course, moving forward. The weather is beautiful in New York. I hope it's beautiful wherever you're listening to me from. The birds are singing. Things are looking up. People are getting vaccinated. So far, this March is definitely better than the last one. By far, no comparison. I was happy to see everybody who tuned in, and I hope you guys are going to stay with us and tune in next Thursday at 10 o'clock. The topic for next Thursday we will send out on Monday. Again, I will see what the feedback is, what you guys want me to talk about, and that is what we're going to talk about next. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.